Hey guys, my name is Naguura and today we're going to be talking about patch 9.0.5. So the patch is about to go live and I'm going to do a quick TLDR of the important changes, and I will also explain how the Valor system works, okay? So there will be timestamps in this video and you can just quickly go through them if you're only looking for a specific portion of the patch, or you just want to know about the Valor system, then just make sure you use the timestamps. So let's quickly jump into this. First of all, let's talk about the class changes and the legendary changes. All right, so there's actually quite a lot of class changes, also including legendary changes, covenant changes, ability changes, and so on. I can't really go over all of those changes, so I'm gonna show you a really quick TLDR about all specs. Keep in mind, if you want to have more in-depth information about your own spec or your own class, then definitely make sure that you're joining your class Discord and figure out more information there. I will be linking all of the spec and class Discords in the description below, so you're more than welcome to join that and ask more questions if my quick TLDR is not answering everything. But I did get that information from trusted people in all of those class Discords, in all of the communities, so the information that I have is going to be somewhat accurate, but of course, as I said, it's not detailed enough, so don't quote me on any of these things that I'm going to mention. Another thing that I also want to give you like a disclaimer about is that usually things get theory crafted beforehand, but it doesn't have to be like 100% true once it hits live, because there's going to be many more people actually going to play those specs and classes, and they're going to figure out the changes once it hits live. So there's of course still things that might be changing once it hits live servers. But this is the info we have so far. All right, so let's see. We have Demon Hunter changes Havoc, a single target 1 to 2% buff approximately, while Vengeance Demon Hunter is getting a nerf. For Rogue, we have Assassination having a 7% single target buff approximately, Outlaw 1.5% buff, and Sub is actually going to be mostly unchanged. Now, for Monk, there's quite a few bug fixes that gives Windwalkers quite a big nerf. It's a 2 to 3% single target nerf. I know a lot of people are saying it's a 5% nerf, but after they're adjusting their setup, you know, like adjusting talent setup, adjusting playstyle, adjusting legendary choices and whatnot, then it should only result in a 2 to 3% nerf overall instead of a 5% nerf, but that is still numbers that have to be worked on and the community is still trying to figure it out. And it's going to be an even bigger AoE nerf, which of course is going to be even more relevant because monks are pretty good at stuff like Mythic Plus, to target cleave, that kind of stuff. So definitely a pretty big hit for the Windwalkers overall for sure. Then moving on to Warriors, Arms is going to be buffed, at least for Night Fae. The Enduring Blow legendary is getting buffed. So therefore it is much more competitive to single targets and it's pretty good for AoE in general. And the Necrolord banner has been redesigned, which might be used eventually for raid encounters at some point, but so far it seems like Warriors are not going to be switching to it. Then Hunters BM got a few changes, but damage stays mostly the same. MM had some bug fixes, which actually results in approximately a 3% single target nerf and a 4 to 8% AoE nerf. Priest. Shadow Priest, damage mostly unchanged. They did receive some changes though. For example, the Shadow Flame Prism is now a solid legendary for 2 to 5 target situations, but you're still going to be playing Twins in M+. Then Paladins, Red Paladin got a 3 to 4% single target buff, so that's really nice. For Druids, Resto Druid has gotten buffed. All the other specs have been mostly unchanged. For Shamans, we have a 20 to 30% AoE buff, AoE damage buff. Enhancement has been mostly unchanged. Then for Mages, we have Frost Mages, damage has been unchanged, but the legendaries have been adjusted a little, so that means Freezing Winds is now the best rating legendary for cleave and non-single target fights. Then for Arcane, approximately 2 to 3% single target buff overall if you're playing the most optimal Covenant previously and now. The new best rating Covenant is going to be Necrolord, but for pure single target Venthyr is going to be better. The Kyrian Sims are not done yet for Arcane, so this is something that might actually change, so just keep that in mind. Then for Fire Mages, it's actually a 3% single target buff and also an AoE buff as well, approximately 3%. The new best legendary is changed. It's now Disciplinary Command. And the trinket changes that I'm going to be talking about later on might actually also affect fire quite heavily and therefore buffing them even further. They needed that, right? Then, Warlocks, Affliction and Destroy are mostly unchanged damage-wise, and Demo, Single Target, and AoE has been buffed slightly. It's probably not enough to make it better than Affliction in plus or rating scenarios. The calculations aren't fully done yet, so if you want to have more in-depth information about Warlocks, then definitely check out their Discord channel, or go and check out Kalamasi or other Warlock creators that have a more in-depth idea of the changes. All right, then the Covenant abilities have been adjusted a little. Mainly Fleshcraft has been buffed a little. It's redesigned. So for dungeons and raids, the Venthyr Covenant dungeon buff has actually been changed a little. So in Sanguine Depths, the anima cages got buffed. They last longer when you activate them. More enemies count towards the stacks, and the buff that you gain lasts longer. Then the Loyal Stoneborns in Halls of Atonement have been adjusted. Their damage was nerfed once they're mind-controlled or charmed, but they last longer now. Then one more thing about Mythic Plus Dungeon Keystones. So the keystone you receive from your weekly vault will actually be the same level as the highest key you have done that season. But if you haven't managed to do that same level the previous week, then it will be lowering by 1 level each week until you manage to do that high key again. So that sounds complicated, but really isn't. Let me explain this to you. So if your highest key that you've ever done is a plus 20, then the next week from your vault, you will be getting a 20. But that week, once you get the 20, if you don't manage to do a 20 again, if your highest key is going to be a 12, then the next week you're going to be getting a 19 key. And if your highest key that week is going to be a 10 again, or a 12, then it's going to lower 1 level again. Then it's going to be 18 and 17, 16, and so on, until you manage to do like a high key again. So eventually, let's say the key that you looted is an 18, and you actually manage to do an 18 that week, then your keystone is going to be 18 again next week. So it will always be the same level of the highest key that you managed to do, but if you don't manage to do the highest key that you've ever done, it will lower by 1 level. Then, the companions and followers for the mission table have been adjusted, so that is something that might interest you if you're doing a lot of missions. Certain followers and companions have been buffed and nerfed. This is really overdue, I feel like, because there are certain covenants who have really underpowered companions, but definitely make sure you take a look into those changes if you're more interested. Then, the community voted mount is now available, the Wandering Ancient. The Great Vault raid loot requirements have been adjusted to 3, 6, 9 instead of 3, 7, 10. That means you don't have to kill 7 bosses anymore in the raid to be able to get that certain loot, that second item. It only has to be 6. And the third slot will be unlocked when you kill 9 different bosses and not the 10 that you needed previously. Now, potency conduits now drop in the raid as well in Castle Nathria, which is a really good change in my opinion. And now you can get almost all potency conduits from the raid, even covenant-specific ones as far as I know. Then, you gain an additional item now for depleting a key, but the item level will be slightly lower. So if you deplete a plus 10 key, you will get 1 plus 10 item, but 1 extra item as well that is going to be slightly lower. I assume like a plus 8 or plus 7 item. Then, there's quite a lot of PvP changes, but I didn't have the time to include it in this video. So if you're interested in the PvP changes, I will link all of the changes below. You can take a look at them if you want to. Then, Torghast has been nerfed and multiple adjustments have been made to anima powers. That is something that I'm also not going to go into too much detail about, because there's so many changes that in the end are not going to be affecting us too much. We're just going to be seeing the changes once we go through Torghast. So if you maybe started not really reading the options anymore, the anima powers, because they're always the same. If you started doing that, then maybe stop and start reading again, because they might have changed some of the powers that you're used to. So definitely just take a second to read the buffs and make sure there hasn't been anything changed that you know. And then several dungeon and raid trinkets have been buffed as well. This might also affect your choice of trinkets depending on what spec you play. Definitely make sure you try to get some information about your class. Make sure that you're still having the best trinkets that you can. Wait a little bit with simming your trinkets, because it's very possible that Simcraft hasn't implemented the changes 100% perfectly yet. So maybe wait a little before you figure out all of your trinket choices and make sure you get the perfect answer from Simcraft after the trinkets have been updated there perfectly. Last but not least, let's talk about the Valor point system that is going to be added to 9.0.5. So the Valor system is a new currency that you can use to upgrade Mythic Plus items with. The way you earn Valor points is through callings and Mythic Plus. A rare calling gives you 35 Valor points, and an epic calling gives you 50 Valor points. You can also get Valor points for completing Mythic Plus, but as I'm recording this video, I don't know the exact values yet, so we will see once the patch goes live. I will update a list in the description below whenever we know more. So there will be a maximum Valor cap of 5,000 the first week, and this maximum cap will increase by 750 points each week, just very similar to a Conquest cap. Each item you loot from a dungeon will be given a rank from 1 to 12. And you can see the rank in the tooltip of the item when you mouse over it. Items from the vault will also have a rank and be eligible to upgrade, but only items you loot after the patch has been released will be upgradable. So any items you already have now or previously before the patch hit live cannot be upgraded. Only items you loot afterwards from dungeons and from the vault. Each upgrade will have a different cost and will upgrade the item by 1 rank. So if you have a rank 2 item, then you can upgrade it to rank 3 and then 4, 5, 6, 7. There's actually a list for the ranks, so you can see what the next step would be when you're upgrading to the next rank. Each rank is 3 or 4 item level, depending on which upgrade it is. Just keep that in mind. And the maximum rank is 12, which equals 220 item level. The upgrade costs are also clear, some of them at least. So you can check the cost here. If there's anything that changes, I will upgrade this upgrade cost list as well. There's also requirements for the upgrades themselves as well. From rank 1 to rank 6, there's actually no achievement required at all. Anyone can upgrade any item from 1 to 6 as long as you have the Valor points and as long as you have the item that you can upgrade. Then, if you want to upgrade from 6 to 8, then you need Shadowlands Keystone Explorer Season 1, which is an achievement that you get for completing all dungeons on +5 or higher within the time limit, all Shadowlands dungeons. Then, from rank to 8 to 10, you need to have the achievement Shadowlands Keystone Conqueror Season 1, which means you have to complete all dungeons at +10 or higher within the time limit. And if you want to upgrade your items from rank 10 to 12, then you need Shadowlands Keystone Master Season 1. So that means you need to complete all dungeons at Mythic +15 or higher within the time limit. All right, so I hope that was all of the information from the patch. Pretty TLDR'd and clear. Of course, if you have any more in-depth questions about any of the topics that I mentioned, then you can check out the link in the description below where everything is listed in detail. And also if you have any more in-depth spec questions, class questions, anything like that, then make sure you check out the class discourse that I also linked in the channel below. And if there's anything that I missed about class changes, then I'm very sorry. I did try to get as much information as possible, but there's just a lot of different specs and a lot of classes, so I might have not been able to catch all of it. But yeah, I really hope this helped you out, and have fun in patch 9.0.5. Have fun farming your Valor points, upgrading your gear, getting your achievements. Hopefully your class has been buffed. If you were one of the classes that got nerfed, then that is very, very unfortunate. But keep in mind that all the classes, even after the nerfs, should still be viable. Don't think that this is going to be the end of the world. Let's just wait a little and see what is actually happening. See how this unfolds on live servers. Maybe the nerfs sound worse than they actually are, okay? So let's stay positive and let's hope for a good patch because it sounds like a good one. So have fun, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel and make sure you ring the bell as well so you can get notifications whenever I post a new video. And yeah, check out my stream over at twitch.tv Naguura if you have any more questions about the patch or about Moonkins specifically. And yeah, have a nice day, guys, and thank you very much for watching. Bye!